Hello, everyone. Welcome to our presentation, Postcards of the Jefferson Highway. This presentation is on behalf of the Jefferson Highway Association, and we hope you will find this a interesting presentation and find out more about our organization at jeffersonhighway.org. As we start the presentation today, you will see this great image in the front here. We'll talk more about it in the slide ahead. But it's just an example of the very many postcards today that can be found if you search them and look for them about the Jefferson Highway Association's history, and we'll look a little bit into that. I am your host today. My name is Roger Bell. I'm president of the Jefferson Highway Association. This photograph was taken in Leon, Iowa during the summer of 2023 as we were doing a sociability caravan through the whole state. And this is one of the murals there that is there today as we continue to evolve the Jefferson Highway and bring it back state by state, city by city across the country. A little bit about, as we start this, a little bit about the Jefferson Highway Association and the Jefferson Highway. The group was organized in 1915. It was one of the first of the auto trails in America. Think back into time and remember that cars were beginning to be an important part of America. First, the first cars were mainly for the rich and wealthy. But as people started to be driving cars, they found the road conditions not really great for road and for automotive travel. Before this, most of the travel across the country was done by railroad, and horse and buggies and stuff like that were used some regionally, but it was. This was a newfangled thing as people started to get these cars. It was a time to get out and drive, and what they found is the roads of America really had not were not beneficial to such travel. And one of the things that happened was the Auto Trails organizations that started, and most of these were funded by local groups. They were done by associations as such, which they would organize, and then they would work their way city by city across the country. The Jefferson Highway was one of the early ones and one of the first, if not the first, to be international, going out of the country, Winnipeg, Canada, and going all the way to New Orleans. This slide shows a map, a very early map, and it indicates here the different cardinal points of the highway, which these were the first uh, sites that were the towns that were first mentioned to be what we call cardinal points. That means the route had to go through them. Obviously, New Orleans and Winnipeg were the starting point and ending point, but all these other towns you see, Winnipeg, Minneapolis, Des Moines, St. Joseph, Kansas City, Joplin, Muskogee, Denison, Texas, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Alexandria, Louisiana, were all cardinal points. Organized in 1915 in a special convention as such in New Orleans. The route was mapped out and things were starting to get off the ground for the highway. What we're going to look at today, though, in this presentation is postcards. And, postcards are today we look at them and we'll see them in a souvenir shop. You can buy them. Sometimes you'll see them. People sometimes mail them, but not like anywhere like they used to. There was a huge postcard craze in America just past the turn of the century, and millions of cards were sent. We can look at them today almost like the texting or communication of the time because they were a quick way to write a note on the road and to send these. postcards across America. And people a lot of times would get to see for the first time pictures or different artistic renderings. Sometimes they would be funny cartoons or drawings, but they give us a great look back on time. And this is going to be kind of a look back at how postcards here first developed, picture postcards. The first one, it was really popular, were released at the 1893 Columbian Exposition in Chicago. They were made from uncut sheets of what then was just government penny, just blank postal cards, and they had here's a example of those postcards, and they had a picture of the buildings, and you can see it says official souvenir postal. They became immediately very popular, and even though they had to have a couple of extra uh, pennies or so for the card. It was very popular, and the van was hugely popular. And just after that, the idea of putting these pictures on postcards was born, and growth would follow in the years to come. The era right after the turn of the century, the 1901 to 1907, we call the undivided back postcard era. And when we see these postcards, we will see the very back of the card is just one, basically the only thing you could put on the back of the card at that time was the address of the person it was going to. Regulations at that time were that, they were private mailing cards. And even though might have a picture in the front, the back had to be only the address. And so what you saw people starting to do is writing on the top part of these cards. So sometimes they will leave a little space off like this one is to write on. Sometimes you will see them just write over the picture. And this is what this area is. This is actually a postcard of a Minnehaha Falls in Minneapolis, which is a many tourists found as a popular place to stay on routes or to visit on the Jefferson Highway tours of the era. But this is a little bit before that era, we can see by the time of the postcard. Then there was what we call the modern postcard era with divided pack postcards. About in 1907, March 1st, 1907, it was allowed to have the back of the postcards to be divided down the center. The right side was for the address now, and the postage on the left sides was for personal message that could be used. Used to be written on the front of the card. Now you could write it on the back of the card. Because this is essentially the same design today, this is actually considered the birthday, March 1st, of the modern American postcard. Real photo postcards are, a really special thing, and they're really special to our look back on the Jefferson Highway. These are actual photographs which were developed and printed on postcard stock. The real photo postcards were produced since the early 1900s, but they became very popular during the 1910s and into the early 1920s. The Kodak company, photography company, sold postcard camera, and you could buy a roll of film, take pictures, and have them developed on special postcard paper, usually by business. These cameras or photographers captured many events, disasters, unique scenes, just things that probably we would not have pictures of today. And many of these postcards are rare and one of the kind. A lot of times, the photographers, we get these cards. It was a money making thing. Not everybody could afford a camera for this, so they would. It was a way to make money. So they would mass produce these, and you can a lot of times see the bottom of these cards that have been kind of mass produced, or more copies were made to make money or sell. On the bottom, you can see this is actually, font, not a handwritten or something note down there. It just says Minnehaha Falls, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it's stamped, I think, actually with the name of the photographer here. But real postcards are often referred to in the collecting hobby as RPPCs, and they are rare and things that a lot of we seek out to look at, especially when they are one of a kind. White border postcards came in around the time of World War One or right before that. Um, Before this, German printers really dominated the production of postcards and printing. With World War One, or even getting into World War One, American printers started taking supplies of postcards in the United States. We weren't that friendly with Germany, obviously, during World War One. American printers didn't have the same technology as the German printers, so their quality of postcards kind of fell a bit. And the printers tried to find ways to save ink or uh, not spend as much money during this time, especially during World War One. And one of the things they did was leave a white border around the card. It said that one of the reasons it was done was to, save printing costs. And but they did retain the divided back. So these white border postcards you'll see. Sometimes even later than this, but a lot of the prime time area was 1915 to 1930. Now we're going to get on a little bit into what the postcards and Jefferson Highway mean. Again, the intense postcard craze in the United States started to slow down by about the time of the Jefferson Highway's creation in 1915. And certainly by the onset of World War One, the industry and the production were in a state of change as World War One came in. But they give us a great source for looking back at some of the scenes of Jefferson Highway and especially its communities along the route. Our vision of this time would not be the same without these postcards images. They provide us a look back on the history of the route, and really they're a portal to the Americana history. Today's travelers, we don't purchase a lot of postcards. Maybe we may pick up a few of a picture, maybe we want to take home or send back, but they're nothing like they were today. We are often dependent on taking a picture, sending it on a smartphone, posting it on social media. But these photographs, we don't know for the future what they're going to be like for documenting things, and but we have this great portal, and even though some of them are destroyed or no longer there, the ones that are there are very important to the historical knowledge of research on the Jefferson Highway. And this is a postcard stand you see here, actually in New Orleans, and about the time period of the start of the Jefferson Highway. And it kind of gives you a look back. This is what you would see, these postcard stands and all the postcards and different things that people can pick out to send home. And some of them, these postcards here, may be ones that we collect. I started collecting Jefferson Highway photographs about 2018. And my collection it's not a large collection, but I specifically collect images relating to the Jefferson Highway and its communities along the route. And my collection now is well over 1,000 postcards. And this presentation today is just a small sample of some of the collection I have, and it will continue to grow as I continue to search out and look for postcards of the Jefferson Highway. If you have something you would like to share with us about postcards, please send us a message to info@jeffersonhighway.org. We'd love to see your images and see any postcards that you have on the Jefferson Highway. This first section of cards I'm going to show you here is what I would call postcards where it has been identified as a part of the Jefferson Highway historic route. This one is in Elk River, Minnesota, which is a community just to the northwest of Minneapolis. So we can get a really good idea of travel along these two-lane roads of America as it went right through Elk River here. You'll see on the very bottom it's identified as specifically Jefferson Highway. And then if you look really close on the right side of the photograph, look at the utility pole. We'll talk more about that later, but this is the original markings of the Jefferson Highway when they marked thousands of telephone poles across the United States uh, over the route with the JH symbol. And we can tell, if I've looked at many of these, that is what that is on that pole to the right is a JH emblem telling these drivers that they were on the Jefferson Highway. Here's another photograph. Now you'll notice this one, the writing is on the side. This is a rarer photograph here, probably not as mass produced. This is a photograph if taken in is mailed in 1916. This is during a sociability run. These were runs or to promote the route, and they would have uh, dignitaries, sometimes the premier of Manitoba, the mayor of New Orleans, other dignitaries would drive around the route. They would have a lot of times a couple of cars, and then they would be followed by a couple of cars. And one of the things they did as they came into town is they spoke. So they stopped in the middle of the street and they spoke. So if you look right out in front of this car, you can see a man talking. So I have not fully identified who that is, but it's likely someone like the Premier of Manitoba or a political figure speaking on their way driving down the Jefferson Highway. You see all the folks coming out on the street here in Monongah, Minnesota. Some of them probably here are part of the sociability run or caravan. This is one of the earlier ones, and you can see on the side it actually identifies it on the Jefferson Highway, kind of written on the Monongah, Minnesota. And really a great picture here to see all the people out to see see the Jefferson Highway folks. You'll see flags on the cars, and just a good photograph, one that I have collected. Here's another great scene. Again, this is another sociability run where people were going, driving along together on these caravans across the country to promote the route. This one is in Leon, Iowa. It is near the courthouse square here, and we can see on the back of the card, the back of the car, you can really closely. It says on Sociability Run, Jefferson Highway, St. Joseph to St. Paul, car number 4. We can't really read the one in front of it, but we can see this big group. What's this group doing in the middle here? If you really look closely, there's a speaker. They're all gathering to hear. We don't have megaphones. He's just speaking out on the street, and everybody's trying to get as close as they can to listen to him. And he's promoting the Jefferson Highway, talking about its future likely, and promoting towns to get involved in the Jefferson Highway. I know exactly where this is today. We could drive by this same spot in Leon, Iowa, and would look not far removed from this. If you look way in the background, you can see a banner that likely was welcoming people into the town. And this is one of the postcards that I have been able to obtain over the last few years. Here's another photograph from Osceola, and we're going to have a series of photographs. This is kind of today we can drive exactly to the south of Osceola, Iowa, on what is the original Jefferson Highway routing, and we can almost see the same picture today. And when you are there, I've been there before, you just look at it and you can just imagine back in time. This one, as you can see, says on Jefferson Highway, south of Osceola. You'll see the United States Tire sign. These must have been a lot of places on the route. I have postcards and images from with that same type of sign from several different communities. One I can think of offhand is in Louisiana. I have another one in my hometown of Muskogee, Oklahoma. They would kind of look like a book, but you can really see that it's welcoming those people to Osceola as they came in on the Jefferson Highway. Also, notice the guardrails there on that turn. Um, a fencing there, and you can see the vintage car parked over the road. That may be the person that actually was taking this photograph. And we're looking north into Osceola. This picture is later, and it probably is later than the time of Jefferson Highway that officially kind of ends somewhere. People say around the early 1930s. This is later, but a lot of times the road kept that same name locally and regionally, and people still referred it to the Jefferson Highway for many years afterwards. Before, even though this was probably at that time Highway 65, I believe, and you can see the sign now is a different sign, and it's a Tagaline gas sign, which is a Skelly Oils product that obviously was probably available to with the gas station in Osceola to fill up. You can see another car parked on the side. Maybe again the same person taking this picture, maybe not. You can see the railing now has changed. In the next from that fencing to this post and along the route here, and you can see again, but a very similar image that you would see today, and again identifies it as Jefferson Highway on the very bottom. Here's another one from Iowa. This one is north of Des Moines. It says we don't really know the location of this, but it identifies it as that, and you can see the car coming down the road on the hard surface Jefferson Highway, coming toward us. We don't know what community again this is, but it's a great image, and shows us the conditions that would have been driving down the two-lane Jefferson Highway. Here we are in a wonderful place along the route that is still great to go to today. This is Tosca Park in State Park in just north of Park Rapids, Minnesota. And you can see that railing, that fence railing again. So that must have been used at that time period. And you can see again, it's identified on the bottom specifically as part of the Jefferson Highway as it went through this beautiful park where not far from here and where this is would be the start of the trickling of the stream of the Mississippi River. We talked about Park Rapids, so just not too far from that scene, we have what? We have a border postcard. So what does that tell us? That tells us the time period a little bit. So this was probably somewhere, in the late teens, early 20s. And this is the Glantz Brothers department store. And if you look on the very bottom of the car in the border, it says on the Jefferson Highway. So they were proud of that fact. And this postcard also, if you notice, has a grocery in the back of the store. Did a little research on what was the Glantz Brothers, and I found that they were a Polish immigrants by the name of Ben Glantz, who started the store in Park Rapids. Now we're going way south on the Jefferson Highway, and you see this color image here that says on the bottom, this is the proposed Jefferson Highway in Longview, Texas. Again, you see the border on the bottom. Likely this card would have been in the late teens, maybe. And A lot of times we don't know if this was an image that was a photograph and they colorized in some way. That was very common, but we can't tell that. We don't even know what this scene is, but exactly where this is. But the fact that it says propose is interesting. But understand some of these roads were already in play before the fact that they were identified by the Jefferson Highway. Were starting to be developed. They may have been in an older road that was modernized, brought to a stronger hard surface or whatever. But anyway, this is one in Texas, and don't see Texas postcards. I find hard to locate, and so this is one I was happy to obtain. We are now back in Minnesota along the route. And this again is one of the colorized border postcards. And you see it says Woodlawn Farm, George Flynn, owner, near the Jefferson Highway, 2.5 miles east of Medford, Minnesota. Visitors always welcome. Doing research on this, Medford is a community on the route between Owatonna and Faribault, Minnesota. And George Flynn was a prominent cattleman, and he had a very large Holstein cattle herd. And I don't know if this was a promotional for him or for the community, but interesting postcard here. And I don't know if that's Mr. Flynn in the background looking at us, but obviously you see the Holstein cows, and it says 2.5 miles east of Medford, so it's just off the Jefferson Highway route, but it was near the Jefferson Highway, as it says on the postcard. This is a scene that is a postcard in Arkansas, and you may think those that looked at the route earlier might want to remember that, what's Arkansas do with the Jefferson Highway? The Jefferson Highway, originally Arkansas was trying to get the route coming directly down through Missouri, which would have bypassed Oklahoma and Texas. They didn't send too many folks to the convention in New Orleans in 1915, and they lost that routing to Arkansas and Texas, who sent big contingents to New Orleans. But they kept trying to get portions of the route, and they eventually did what was called the Jefferson Highway Cut or Cutoff, which was developed, and later it was also called the Arkansas Scenic Route. But this area right here would be later Highway 71 in Arkansas, and we see postcards of this later, calling it the S curve on Mount Gaylor, and this one is calls it the Whipcracker curve on the Jefferson Highway near Mena, Arkansas. We are in Minnesota again. You can see the colorized border cards here, and you'll see it says River Drive and the Jefferson Highway, also the Red Trail and St. Cloud. This is a view after Jefferson Highway travelers went across the Mississippi River Bridge at Riverside Park in St. Cloud, and you can notice the Mississippi River in the background, but you can also see the status of the roads here. These were hard surface roads, I guess, but they look pretty much like a dirt trail, and so this is part of the heritage of the Jefferson Highway. Now we're going to look a little bit at what I call J.H. Pohl postcards. And this is not a postcard, but it is an image that of a pole painting crew from this gentleman from Minnesota. And you'll notice the pole has been painted with the JH logo, and you can see this is the official painting car that would go around painting the route. So thousands of these were painted across America. There was pole painting crews that went the whole way, and they would be paid by the Jefferson Highway Association to do it. There was also some local pole painting done, and so when we look at these community postcards, I always keep my eyes open to find the JH poles in them. And this is an image here. This is another sociability run. So we talked about the sociability caravans. This is a postcard that I picked up from Osceola, Iowa, and first looked at it and I said, "Boy, that's interesting with those cars all looking like a parade of cars coming down the street." There's folks out on the street with American flags, children, ladies, men with their hats. Some are way in the back. The cars are all together. It looks interesting. So let's look at this really closely. And you can see the first car coming down the road has the Jefferson Highway emblem in it. And you can also see the pole on the left side of the postcard with the Jefferson Highway pole. So this is a historic picture from the Jefferson Highway with a Jefferson Highway sociability run coming through Osceola, Iowa. We're in Mason City, Iowa, and this is a look along Federal Avenue. And you can see this postcard was obviously a promotion for a Roberts studio, and he must have been a photographer. So he probably produced this as something to give out to people to show where he was. Probably using one of those Kodak type cameras and creating postcards with it. And you'll notice in the background the Kresge store. And Kresge would later become, in America, the Kmart Corporation that many of you might know. That building was on 17 North Federal Street and right on the Jefferson Highway route as it goes through Mason City, Iowa, where our 2023 Jefferson Highway Conference was. And look at the pole, the light pole on the out in front of near the Kresge store. If you look closely, you can see that is wrapped with a Jefferson Highway marker. So, how that was wrapped around that pole, I'm not sure, but that's definitely a Jefferson Highway marker right there along the route. And this is a close up of that picture, so you can even more get an idea of the Jefferson Highway marker. And I love the storefront there with all the items in the window, like they did back in that time period for the 5 and 10 store of the Kresge store. Today, that building is actually still there in Mason City, Iowa. It is now the home of the Fat Hill Brewery in Mason City. And if you look at the very top, you can see the same parts of the Kresge building there. Now we're in Sheffield, Iowa, and this is the Oddfellows Hall. And the Oddfellows had their meetings in the second floor of this building in Sheffield. And so when I was looking at this, this is just a random postcard I was looking at, and I looked really close at the utility pole, and right by where it says restroom with the hand pointing there, right by the kids, right there by the pole. You can really look close. You can see the Jefferson Highway on the pole there. So Here's a close up of it, and you can definitely see it there as the Jefferson Highway. And today, that building is still in use, still there. And this is a photograph uh, of it today. And you can see a few things have changed, but the building is still intact there, right by where that pole once was. We're now in Oklahoma. This is Miami, Oklahoma. This is the Cardin Building. It's spelled E, but actually it is the Cardin Building with an I. It was named for the mining business owner, which owned the pitcher, part of the ownership of the Pitcher Cardin Mining Company, which was a huge mining operation over that area from Joplin to Missouri, into Pitcher, Oklahoma, and in Miami was part of that. A lot of things were happening during the early days of the Jefferson Highway relating to in this area relating to mining, and great history is a part of that too. That can be seen today along the route. But this building was completed in 1918, so right. And actually, if you look at the building, it says 17 on the top of it, but it's my understanding it was completed and opened in 1980. And on the very bottom, it housed the Miami Trust and Savings Bank. So, looking at this postcard, looks like a bank, but look at the pole on the very far left side. This today would be making you right through. Most people would know as Route 66, but this is pre Route 66 and right on the Jefferson Highway. And we'll take a real close up view. And of course, you can see that pole. If you look closely, the JH Jefferson Highway mark is painted on that pole. We're now in Red Lake, Minnesota, along the route. And this is a building that if you look at, it was actually a hotel. It was the Lincoln Hotel, and it is in Red Lake Falls, Minnesota. Look at the pole there. You'll see it was painted up multiple times there. Not sure exactly why that. It had a cafe on it, and you can see it. The building to the north or right of the hotel building says the Red Lake Falls Gazette. So there's a close up of that JH pole, so you can really see it in a close up there. And here we are today, what you would see if you were at the same location along the Jefferson Highway. And look to the right or north, and you can see that Red Lake Falls Gazette is still there. The building still says it on the top anyway. And a few things have changed, but is now the Lincoln Apartments in Red Lake Falls, Minnesota. We're now in Wadena, Minnesota. And again, this is just a scene that postcard I picked up. I started looking at it. It's 3rd Street, right on the Jefferson Highway. And as I was looking on it, I noticed again the poles. And is that on the left side, you can see, and you can see the cars going down what looks like almost dirt streets. And you'll notice it says 3rd Street. This today is no longer 3rd Street. It's actually called Jefferson Street in Wadena, Minnesota. Notice those American flags at the top of the building also. Those all the way down, and as people would come into town. And here's a close-up view of that same corner to see the Jefferson Highway painted pole. Today, let's look at it today, the same corner. We're looking down, and you can see it is Jefferson Street today. A few building changes, but this is what travelers on the Jefferson Highway today would see along the route in this community. New Orleans, Louisiana. We are at the end of the Jefferson Highway. So this is the the end of the Jefferson Highway location is at this intersection at St. Charles Street and Common Street in New Orleans. So when looking at this colorized postcard here, you see the active scenes. I don't know if this was colorized from original image. I can't tell. It looks like to me that it may not have been, but I don't know that. But it looks, if you look at the image and you see uh, coming down the street here, look on the left side and look at that light pole. You'll see really closely the Jefferson Highway uh, painted pole. But then look on the right side and look at there's a monument right on the very bottom, and it says JH, plain as day. The building that it's in front of says the Association of Commerce. That was the Association of Commerce building. That's where the original convention where the Jefferson Highway was born was in the Association of Commerce in in New Orleans. So this marker right out front um, is interesting. So this time period is photograph postcard. This is late teens, 1920 era, early 20s era postcard. So let's kind of look at a few things on this. We're going to get the close up. You can see the JH showing out here. But look at that, the monument on the corner. It looks like that may be the end of the road marker that was put up by the Daughters of the American Revolution. And this shows it kind of painted on the side. But that would be the correct location for that historic marker today that is in front of a hotel that's there now. And here we are, St. Charles and Common today. So we're going to look at this. Yes, the buildings have definitely changed over time. But if you look, that monument in that corner, almost the exact same location is there. And this was the end of the road marker that was there. And today it is the hotel there, I believe, is a courtyard hotel. And you can go to the same location today. Pittsburgh, Kansas. This is look closely at the pole, a small skinny pole on the right, and you'll see what looks like a Jefferson Highway. So looking through this postcard image, you see the brick streets, Pittsburgh, Kansas, which is another was part of our 22 national conference. And if you look very close on the pole, you can definitely see that it was painted for Jefferson Highway marking. Now we're going to look at a few tourist camps on the Jefferson Highway. This one is tourist camps became really popular just after 1920. Um, People necessarily couldn't afford, they were traveling, more cars were becoming popular. It says here on the slide the number of car registrations went from 4.6 million in 1917 to 19.2 million by 1926. So people were getting out, they were being able to afford these cars. It wasn't all for the rich. And they started to driving as roads, and these highways were starting to gain momentum. And they necessarily couldn't afford to stay in hotels all the time. And really, it became a craze anyway to be auto camping. So there was huge tents makers, and everything from you could actually get a portable record player to take along with your car to play at your camps. And the Jefferson Highway Association, with the popularity, came up with a tourist camp manual. This is the 1923 Jefferson Highway Tourist Camp Manual cover that you see on the right. So these camps were put up by communities to do what? To get people to stop in their community, spend money, spend time there, and they were prideful to make the best camps that they could. And every size community on the route had tourist camps. So most of them had things like police protection, electric lights, toilets, cooking facilities. They had picnic shelters or different ways to picnic inside, and it was just these camps were sponsored a lot of times by civic clubs, chambers of commerce, and they were often put in what was the public parks or somewhere just off the outside of town. But town boosters encouraged the counselors come in and purchase goods from their local businesses, and they were often competitive from each other. They wanted to have the best camp on the route. There are a lot of really cool postcards of these camps to give us an idea of what it would be like to drive the Jefferson Highway back in this time and stay at these camps. And here is one in Thief River Falls, Minnesota. And you have to kind of look through the trees there, but you can see a campsite set up there right on the river there. And if you look at the very top of this, I've actually have the part that is in the Jefferson Highway Tourist Camp Manual saying that Thief River Falls had a camp of 50 cars, lights, water, bathhouse, rest house, and free fuel. That's interesting. And this park is situated in the heart of fine timber on the banks of the Red Lake River. Well, that looks exactly what we're seeing in this postcard. We're in Bemidji, Minnesota. You see the little asterisk on the top there. That means that this is a new image that I've not shown in previous presentations that I gave this presentation on the conference. And this one shows, a tourist camp scene with the tents up. And you'll notice it says cottages for rent by day, week, or month. Right, Roy Webster at Bemidji's tourist camp. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Obviously this is a big community along the route. So they had the public tourist camp there. May not, it was not necessarily all Jefferson Highway. The Yellowstone Trail is another big highway that comes through uh, Minneapolis. You'll notice the way the print is at the bottom. This was probably more mass produced. But you'll see the Minneapolis one says only 50 cars. Pretty good sized town for only 50 cars, but there might have been a lot of other opportunities for lodging in Minneapolis. But the Jefferson Highway, it actually says crossed by the Yellowstone Trail in Minneapolis. And this was a log cabin. I have even colorized pictures of this, postcards of it with the border. But this is a real photo car of the tourist camp log cabin where people could come in and sit down along the camp. Here we see another one of the border postcards. This is the Owatonna. You can see they had a fancy concrete pavilion, and 500 cars could come to this one. And this is in Owatonna, Minnesota. Des Moines, Iowa. This is a cool picture here. You can see the municipal tourist camp in Des Moines, Iowa. You can see the picnic tables in the back, and you can see that there's the men's and the women's restrooms on either side. Looks like some people there to greet you as you came into the camp. And Des Moines had 200 car capacity and patrolled day and night by 3 special caretakers. And it says here that the shelter house can accommodate 300. I'm not sure that this was a shelter house or what that not, but really a pretty neat postcard here. Bethany, Missouri was very proud of their tourist camp. They put out a lot of postcards for it to promote it. And I probably have 3 or 4 postcards from Bethany's tourist camp. And interesting enough, the caretaker and his family are in a lot of these photographs and postcards. And you'll notice this when I have the back of the postcard. So it says, Bethany, population 2,500, and the first thing it says is the best tourist campgrounds on the JH, or the Jefferson Highway, located in beautiful Rollick Park, fine shade, running water, free wood, fine equipment for washing, shower, bath, washrooms, electric light, and a children's playground. Not too far from that is Cameron, Missouri, and they were very proud of their camp too. It's a lot of different images of the tourist park or camp in Cameron. It crossed the Pikes to Peak Ocean to Ocean Highway, was crossed, bisected the Jefferson Highway here. And they had a big camp not too far off their main downtown area. It says it's one of the prettiest camps in the territory. Well shaded park covered with heavy bluegrass sod and modern free kitchen. Um, if you look at the very front center of that, you'll notice that it says kitchen. So that was the modern kitchen they were touting, I assume, in the description in the tourist camp manual. And so again, I have a lot of different photographs of this park, and but this is one I picked for this presentation. Joplin, Missouri, is it was one of the cardinal points of the route. This is Sheffer Decker Park, which was had a lot of different things. That it was basically an amusement park, and it back in the time was quite a bit. You can. This is right near where the Route 66 and Jefferson Highway shared the route in this area, and you can see unlimited electric lights, city water, free swimming pool, comfort stations. All roads leading from Joplin are hard surface, and city styles assess the gateway to those art playgrounds. Just a few miles south of that, in Bonita, Oklahoma, the Jefferson Highway was the tourist camp for the Jefferson for travelers here in Bonita. This is a colorized postcard showing the short line filling station and free campgrounds in Bonita. They also had free fuel, tables and benches, and directions to where the next camp was. Not far to the south is Muskogee, Oklahoma. This is my hometown, and this is the famous tourist camp there, which was said to be one of the best well kept on the route. It had a lot of promotion of that. The building that you can see in the background there was the shelter house where they would have places for people to dine, restrooms, showers, things like this. This was in Spalding Park, and it had nearby water, pond, and other things here. There was a band shell near it. Here's a picture of it today. The camp building is still there along the route, and we have one of our Jefferson Highway signs, as you can see, along the route that we have. One of our historic signs has been put up. Hotels of the highway. We're going to look quickly at a few hotels of the highway. Yes, this is in Hampton, Iowa, and this hotel actually at one time, as you can see, had JH on it. And if you look at that pole, that was a Jefferson Highway painted pole along the route in Hampton. We're going to look at some of these grand hotels. This is one. This is the Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg, Manitoba, right at the start of the Jefferson Highway. Beautiful hotel. This was the starting and ending point for many of the Pine to Palm sociability runs. And today, you can stay in this beautiful hotel today, right on the route, right in Winnipeg. And it's important to the history of the Jefferson Highway. The St. Paul Hotel is another hotel that was important to the history of the Jefferson Highway. The image on the left is a postcard that I've picked up of the image on the right looks like this same exact thing. This is actually out of the Jefferson Highway Declaration magazines of the time period, so the image was used on postcards and also used to promote it. And as you see on the very bottom of the promotion, it says headquarters for the Jefferson Highway Tourist for St. Paul, Minnesota. Today it's been beautifully restored in downtown Minneapolis, and I've had the opportunity to stay there. I highly recommend it. And Northwood, Iowa, there is a special building, and this is the hotel, the Winifred Hotel. It was constructed in 1912 and used for business and tourist travelers through Northwood, Iowa. Jefferson Highway guest, businessman, frequent guest at this hotel, very near to the border of Minnesota, northern part of the route in Iowa. And you can see this postcard that I've been able to get, a real photo postcard. Today you can go to the same building. It's under wonderful restoration by community supporters. And you can see we dedicated a Winifred Hotel Winifred sign there last summer in summer 2023. And they are now working on this to bring it back as a a community project to bring this back as a hotel, and I look forward to the day that I can stay in this, and highly recommend you go online and look for Waking Miss Winifred on your Facebook page. Give them a shout out for all their efforts to bring back this hotel. We're now in Mason City, Iowa, one of the most iconic hotels on the route. This is the Park Inn in Mason City, where our 2023 conference actually was just at. It's the only remaining hotel building designed by famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright. It opened in 1910 and was meticulously restored in 2011 and the site of our 2023 conference. Here it is just last summer. That's Bill Johnson's Chevrolet there in front of the building with Jefferson Highway magnet on the side, and you can see that is the beautiful Park Inn in Mason City. This is the Howell Hotel in Osceola, Iowa. This dates back to the 1880s. This is a postcard image. You can kind of see this not as good a quality printing there, but you can see that the Howell Hotel signs today. It's under a great restoration, and this is in Osceola, Iowa. And we were able to go by there in our caravan in 2023. You can see in one of the windows, one of our Jefferson Highway historic signs has been put up, and there's a great amount of effort to restore this by a couple. And great thing, another place that we look forward to being a future great stop along the Jefferson Highway route. This is the Hotel Seavers, again, my hometown in Muskogee, Oklahoma. It was a site for the 1916 Jefferson Highway Association International Conference. The hotel opened just a few years earlier in 1912. It was built by a man by the name of Captain Frederick Seavers, who had a lot of land holdings and was a very important man in early Oklahoma and before the Indian Territory. He passed away just a short month or so before the building opened, but it was a very important hotel along the Jefferson Highway route. Again, hosted the convention and hosted a lot of Jefferson Highway travelers over the years. Today, it is a office building and bank in downtown Muskogee. It was restored in the 1980s, and we have, again, one of our Jefferson Highway markers out in front of this beautiful building. Now we're going to our hotel this year for the 2024 conference is going to be the Hotel Bentley in Alexandria, Louisiana. And this, if you look at it, is an interesting card. Actually, I think it's posted in 1916 on the card, if I look at it. But it says, come to Alexandria, Louisiana, enjoy motoring, boating, golf, tennis, fishing, and all other sports. Hotel Bentley is a modern, fireproof palace that affords every metropolitan convenience. Palace is a good word for this beautiful hotel. And this was a promotional card that was and the actual manager of it was said to be the first person in Alexandria to ever own a automobile. This is a later card, probably in the early 20s of the hotel, and you can see the cars out front of the hotel. And very back of this postcard, part of it on the very top says Hotel Bentley, and part of the routing it says is on the Jefferson Highway. Today, this is what this beautiful building looked like after its restoration several years ago, and it will be our host site for the 2024 International Jefferson Highway International Conference. Look at our website at jeffersonhighway.org for information on our conference, and you'll have the opportunity. Guests will have the opportunity to stay at this iconic hotel on the Jefferson Highway route. We're going to look at bridges real quickly here, and these are a few of the bridge pictures I have. This one it says Grand Echo Bridge, but that's actually wrong. It's actually the Grand Icor Bridge over the Red River near Natchitoches, Louisiana. This bridge is no longer, but this was the main route to the north, or excuse me, to the south of Natchitoches. Jefferson Highway travelers would have gone across the Red River here on this bridge, and it was a very important bridge for this area during that time. This is a bridge in Iowa. It's no longer there either. This bridge was built about 1911. It spanned the Grand River at Davis City, Iowa, and it was lasted up until 1930. It was replaced with a concrete structure. But you'll notice the card actually says on the bottom, Jefferson Highway Bridge, Davis City, Iowa. This is a very important bridge on the river. This is the famous Red River Bridge at Denison, Texas. It was a link between Oklahoma and Texas across this Red River. And the piers, the original bridge, can still be located if you know where they are on close inspection. The bridge and its new free bridge became a source of conflict between Texas and Oklahoma in 3031, which drew nationwide attention. Is the governor of Oklahoma tried to stop travel across the bridge, and it was quite a thing. There's actually a book written about the Red River War between Oklahoma and Texas. And this is one of the images we have of the bridge. This is a beautiful bridge in Iowa Falls, Iowa. It was built toward the latter days of the Jefferson Highway era. And it actually says on the State Highway Commission, it says, nature gives scenic beauty to New Jefferson Highway Bridge at Iowa Falls. Here's another Arkansas one, and it's actually said, we talked about the cutoff, and this is what the White River Bridge on the Jefferson Highway near Eureka Springs, Arkansas. And this is the routing that went through and the construction. A lot of this started, right after World War I or thereabouts when the Arkansas routing started to evolve. This is in Alexandria. This is the Red River Bridge that was there. It linked Pineville, Louisiana's Murray Street with Main Street, and it was a two-lane steel truss bridge. It lasted quite a while. There is a kind of a replica of it there now, but this one was demolished in 1983. But it still looks pretty good, the replica that they have there today. Garages and filling stations. We're going to look at a few of these. This one is in Kensett, Iowa, and you'll see that one prominently displayed on the top. Jefferson Highway Garage Filling Station. And you see the owners out front with the Mason City Oil and Grease Company and garage. This is a great image here. This is in Rockwell, Iowa, just south of Mason City, Iowa. You'll see the Rockwell Auto Company, which was prominent advertiser in a lot of Jefferson Highway publications. It shows to be a Goodyear service station. And you can see all the cars that are out there um, right in front of it. This is a mobile gas station in Hubbard, Iowa, with a cabin camp. Many stations developed, adding cabins to them to serve Jefferson Highway travelers and tourists. This route would later become 65, and you can see the mobile gas pumps out front. And if you look on the very left in the back, you can see the some of the cabins that were there available for rent. This is in Cambridge, Iowa. This is an older part of the route in Iowa. And if we look at this picture, this is a postcard I picked up. I loved it. This was a Parco gas station. I really didn't know what that was, but later on I found out it was a company that was acquired by Sinclair Oil in the very early 1930s. Really, you can see the water tower in the front. But again, look at the pole on the left-hand side, and it is a Jefferson Highway painted pole in Cambridge on the route, this gas station. This is in Adrian, Missouri. This is a White Eagle gas station. White Eagle was purchased by Standard Oil and right around the time of the Great Depression. And Lee Stith was the owner of this station. He says Stith and Company. And it says that he passed away from an illness in 1931. So this would date, this is a 1920s image here, and he's supposed to have owned 7 stations in Missouri. We talked about those earlier in this presentation. We talked about the United States Tire sign. Here's one in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, along the Jefferson Highway route, saying 5 miles from here. So they must have had these quite a few places along the route. And it said, look for this sign, the United States Tires, as you come into Baton Rouge. And you can see this is what we call roadside people stopping. Looks like 2 ladies have made it all the way somehow to the top. I'm not sure how they did it. They're sticking out, and the man on the bottom with his arms out. Great image there. This is the Canadian Custom Buildings in Emerson, Manitoba. So JF travelers would have stopped here along the route going into on the way to Winnipeg into Canada. And that building is still there today in some form, even though it's hard to get to now by the routing that has to go into Canada now, but it's still there. Roadside are just things that people would have stopped and looked at back in the day. And so Paul Bunyan, you can see here the postcards on the bottom when the Paul Bunyan statues was first put up. And you can see the color image there. That's Paul Bunyan and Babe today that are there today along the route in Bemidji, Minnesota. We talked about Itasca Park earlier and things people wanted to stop. One of the main places to stop. We have very early photographs of even some of the director of the Jefferson Highway going across the Mississippi where it flows. And they evidently had a bridge there at one time, but a lot of people just walked across the rocks here. But here's where the Mississippi River begins in the park, and it's still a great place to stop today. Leon, Iowa. If you drive through Leon, Iowa on the Jefferson Highway today, you will see this elephant along the side of the road in this little park space. And you go, what is that? This is obviously a little bit later. This is for the Jefferson Highway area, but it's important to the community. The elephant was originally at the town's Dairy Queen as a promotion. And this is a postcard actually from the Dairy Queen back in the 1950s, I think. And I love what it says here. The elephant is a sculptured masterpiece. and has been pronounced by the museum and circus people to be the most lifelike, life-size such elephant in the world, made by a noted sculptor, taxidermist, artist, and welder. So that's quite the description. And today we call that elephant Sally. And she's in the park, and a lot of times she's decorated in Jefferson Highway items, as she is in this photograph. But they also have like Father's Day. They may have a Father's Day item. Valentine's. They may have Valentine's items on. It's a fun place to stop. This photograph is in Olathe, Kansas. Just one of the things that people, would have stopped. This is there along the Santa Fe Trail. And when we look at guidebooks of the time period, I see things to the Jefferson Highway guides to stop at the Santa Fe Trail marker in Olathe. So I put this image in to show you what Jefferson Highway tours would have seen, to show where the Santa Fe Trail, the historic Santa Fe Trail, crossed the Jefferson Highway. This is the Reed Island corner in Cola, one of the great places on the route where the Lincoln Highway and the Jefferson Highway cross, just to the south of this a little bit. But this photograph's a little bit later in time, probably the 1940s. But I like it because it shows you all the buildings and all the cabins, and you can see the restaurants. You can see where the Reed Station was, and we have several different images of the this crossing, which is one of the great places along the Lincoln and the Jefferson Highway to stop for travelers. That's going to end our presentation today on Postcards of the Jefferson Highway. I hope you found it interesting. And if you have any comments or would like you please email us at info@jeffersonhighway.org. If there's a program you'd like to see in the future, if there's anything that you'd like to ask questions about, again, send it to info@jeffersonhighway.org. If you have a postcard in your collection that you want to share or scan to us, again, just send it on to this email address. In closing, I would like to say we appreciate your support of the Jefferson Highway Association. Becoming a member is an easy thing to do. You can do it on our website portal. It's only $25 for individuals and $35 for businesses and families, and it goes a long way to help us keep our efforts going to preserve the Jefferson Highway. You can also find information on our conference and on our activities on our website at jeffersonhighway.org. And we want to again thank you for your interest and attention today, and look forward to more programs in the future.